2 years ago, we released an episode called The Woman with the Father Wound and the Man with the Unworthiness Wound. And this episode had a really big impact on our listeners and viewers. I had no idea how powerful this episode actually landed for people. And today we are revisiting this topic. This is an expanded version of it. If you've never heard of this before, keep listening or watching. This is the episode to watch or listen to. Now, if you still remember or you have recently actually listened or watched this episode, I invite you to listen to the very end, because this is an expanded version where we make this even more practical and go even deeper. This is a very painful relationship dynamic that so many men and women experience in their intimate life. It's the dynamic when no matter how much a man seemingly shows up, it seems to never be enough for her. She feels unseen, she feels unheard, and she feels unmet. He tries harder and harder to please her, only to feel smaller, emptier, and more resentful in the process. She seems to demand the impossible, and he keeps trying to meet her. Both feel exhausted, both feel disconnected. And from the outside, it is so easy to label and judge the situation and to say, it's her problem, it's his problem, they are the reason, and to put blame on one or the other. Whereas in truth, both, hear me out, both are responsible, because both are co-creating this dynamic. And usually for both, something here feels familiar, a familiar old pain that is being relived and re-experienced. In today's episode, we don't just get practical, but I will help you to understand what do you actually need to take responsibility for as a woman and as a man, how to clear the confusion and have crystal clarity, and also how you can break free and actually heal from this dynamic to experience the intimate life that you truly desire. My name is Lorin, and I'm a coach, author, and hypnotherapist. I help you to understand masculine and feminine dynamics at the deepest level. Let's begin with how this dynamic gets created. When a woman grows up with an emotionally absent, distant, or inconsistent father, whether physically present or not, her nervous system learns that love ultimately means waiting, proving, chasing, or earning love, earning approval, earning presence. Deep down, she's searching for a love that is stable, that is consistent, and a safety that she has never received from her father. And while all of this is beautiful, and that's a natural, genuine desire, how could there be a problem with any of what I've just said? It makes perfect sense, right? The challenge and the wound is that often she's actually not seeking a partner in life. She's subconsciously seeking a father through her partner. This might sting, but let this land for a moment. Of course, a woman is looking for a man who's stable, who's safe, who's present. And specifically, if her father was showing up in a deeply hurtful way, then even more so. However, this can get entangled. And now what's actually happening is not I'm looking for my divine masculine counterpart. What's happening is seeking the father that she never had through her partner, through the man. Let's get more practical. She wants to be unconditionally held by him. And of course, there is a natural desire for safety and that all of her is welcome. So again, what would the problem be? There isn't. It's just, again, the wound is confusing in a very subtle way this dynamic and natural desire of the feminine. Because it's not hold me and welcome all of me. It's a sense of I want to be held by the father I never had. And how a father holds his daughter is very different to how a man holds his woman. And please know, when I say his woman, I'm not talking about dominance. For those who know my work deeply, they fully understand what I'm saying here. When I say this, I speak in the deepest reverence and devotion to the feminine. So ultimately, to get even more practical, she's looking for a protector who protects her from her childhood pain rather than a man who loves her as an equal. This is gets very challenging to understand. Like, bear with me, this is not an easy topic, but these subtle differences make all the difference. This is why so many people struggle, because it is very complex. The example I like to give here is a father holds his daughter unconditionally. Well, a conscious father, let's put it that way. Not every father, clearly. No matter how she's showing up. She might throw a huge tantrum. She might misbehave. And yet he will hold her. And this dynamic might then actually play out where a woman disrespects. And when I say disrespect, I mean saying something that's below the belt, blaming him or even calling him names, showing up in a way where he has no alternative but to set a boundary if he respects himself. And yet that father wound is saying, hold me. And then if he holds her, what it's really communicating is that he is abandoning himself and abandoning his truth. And then she also loses respect for him. I mean, how crazy is this? What a paradox, but it makes sense. It's a dynamic where somehow he can never win. He can only fail. And this is the core dynamic when the father wound hijacks the natural desire of the feminine for a man to show up, to hold space, to make her feel safe, which are natural and healthy desires. It's that it becomes hijacked by something where a man can only fail. Because the wound doesn't actually allow her to receive his presence, to receive his love, and also is always looking for the father she never had, rather than seeing him for the partner that she actually truly desires. Now, the man this woman often attracts is a man with a deep unworthiness wound. Maybe he grew up feeling unseen, never enough, having to earn love through achievement or performance. He was told and conditioned by society that who he was simply not enough. He had to work harder, prove himself in the world, otherwise he would be left. He was often shamed for his natural desires, for his truth, for his interests. He grew up in a society where being himself fully was simply not safe. He had to chase the approval of others and change who he is and work harder and prove himself more in order to be accepted. And when these two meet, it feels almost magnetic, almost fated, because their wounds are calling each other. Just like their souls might be calling each other. Of course, in order to heal the wound, transcend it, and go deeper into their truth and higher selves. But it feels so familiar. The chemistry might be off the charts at the beginning of this relationship. It might feel this is the one. And it doesn't mean they're not the one, but it certainly means this wound has to be transcended and has to be worked through for both to experience the intimacy that they actually seek and desire. And it's very simple how it plays out, having understood now the context. It's she demands the impossible, the safety only a father can give. He tries to earn it, the love he could never quite reach. Both end up feeling chronically unmet and unseen. Both are desiring something that the other is not able to give them. It causes constant disappointment and resentment and affirmation subconsciously of the core wound. She goes, see, no man can hold me. No man can make me feel safe. Every man is the same. Something is wrong with me. He goes, I am never enough. No matter how much I show up, it just isn't enough. The more she demands the impossible, the smaller he feels. The smaller he feels, the more she loses respect and safety. And round and round and round and round they go. And here is also where spiritual bypassing can easily happen. Because when two are stuck in this cycle, it might seem like she's coming from a genuine feminine intuition and from a place of love. Whereas in truth, it is either coming solely from a father wound, or the father wound is hugely entangled into it, not really allowing the true feminine awakened heart to shine through. And the woman might say, well, this is my desire for you to hold space and you're still not showing up. And maybe on paper that would make sense, but if you look at a deeper dynamic, that's not what's actually happening. And he might think, well, I just need to create more safety. If I just get to this perfect place where I feel so powerful inside myself, where I don't need anything and have no desires anymore, and I can just hold absolutely everything, then finally I can be her hero. I can be the person who makes her feel safe for the first time. And the intent is genuine. But it's only going to get worse if this is how you approach it. Because even though you have a genuine desire and intent, you're ultimately feeding the core wound rather than actually starving it. You're not going to the root. You're working somewhere at the surface, and the root hasn't been touched, hasn't been seen, hasn't been taken responsibility for. So let's go deeper. Let's get more practical now. How to break free. Let's get really serious now. As a woman, you need to understand that this dynamic is almost never one-sided. As a man, you also need to understand this. As long as you blame her, as long as you blame him, as long as you blame them, you're gonna keep staying stuck and you're gonna keep fueling your victim story that somehow it's them, but you are also involved 99% of the time. Unless we're talking of highly toxic dynamics where there is deliberate emotional manipulation and at worst abuse happening. In that case, fuck responsibility, because that only creates more victim shaming. As a woman, your responsibility is your awareness, and specifically your awareness around to notice when your desire for safety, for him to hold you, for presence comes from love, and when it comes from the wound. How do you know the difference? When it comes from the wound and he's trying to show up, it will still not feel enough. You will still distrust it and every attempt he makes at showing up. When it comes from love and he eventually or actually steps up and shows up, you will feel an immediate sense of deeper relaxation, because what's happening is you are receiving that. But the father wound doesn't actually allow you to receive his steps of showing up. And he will do this in a very cunning kind of sense of, well, he should have done it differently. No, I don't want it like that. It's not good enough. But it's always that same theme. It's not good enough. It's still not good enough. It's still not good enough. Now, if you come from love and the man is not showing up again and again and again and again and again, this doesn't necessarily apply. It might still be the case, but then really you're looking at a dynamic where your needs and your truth and your heart are not being heard. That's different again. All of this might still play into it, but we're looking at something that might not be aligned. As a woman, you gotta ask yourself, is this my wise feminine heart, or is this the little girl inside me still longing for her father? And you don't need to suppress your needs. They just need to be expressed from your truth and from your heart, and not from an old familiar wound. Just by implementing this pause and asking yourself, is this coming from love or is this coming from the wound? Is there a sense that no matter what he does, it's never good enough? This will immediately point you into the right direction. As a man, your responsibility is to stop performing and to start embodying your true worth. It might seem paradoxical. The pleaser will say, if I can only do more to finally show up for her. But this is only going to lead to more loss of respect. Because the feminine cannot respect the man who disrespects his own truth and manhood and sense of self in the process of wanting validation and approval. It's a lose-lose situation. Embodying your worth means working through this hero archetype, which is often described as the immature version of the warrior archetype, or the enlightened, the conscious warrior. The hero believes if he somehow pulls off the incredible saving rescue mission where he makes her feel so safe and he can somehow compensate for the father she never had, and he can get to this place of total invincibility and being almost perfect, becoming this ideal, then finally he will feel worthy, which keeps feeding the same wound of unworthiness. So embodying his worth means letting go of playing the hero. You're not here to be her hero. You're here to be a man who lives in truth, in presence, and in alignment. And this can really be felt in a relationship. When a man is embodying his worth, when a man is not coming from a place of, I need your approval to feel like a strong man, I already hold that inside myself. And that starves this dynamic immediately. When he stops performing as the hero and starts embodying who he truly is. When a man embodies who he truly is, all these hero and savior and rescuer, pleaser, all these false masks start to drop away. And there is a deep sense of power in that moment because it is truth. It is not a story. It is not a conditioning. It is just higher and divine power moving through him. The father wound and the unworthiness wound are mirrors. One is the need to be seen. The other is the fear of never being enough. And both dissolve when love meets self-responsibility. You as a woman, when you no longer look at a man through the lens of the father you never had, but to see him for the man he truly is, and actually receive the ways he is showing up, then you will feel paradoxically so much more seen, so much more love, and so much more intimacy. When you as a man stop performing and trying to be someone who you are not, and just show up as your true self, then you will also create with the right person the intimacy that you truly desire. Why is this so hard? Because when you starve this dynamic, she has to face the terror that the little girl experienced. he has to face the terror that the little boy inside him had to face. Almost everything seems easier than doing that. Most unconscious dynamics that you see playing out in any relationship or in this world in general are usually all an escape and some form of attempt of avoiding facing the rawness of our pain. Because as long as she stays in this dynamic and looks to find the father she never had through him, she doesn't truly have to face her pain at the deepest and root level, because she can always blame men. And for him, it's the very same. As long as he's chasing and playing the hero, he never has to come face to face with just how much his energy is leaking, his power is being drained, and to feel that deep unworthiness that he carries inside himself. The fear of slowing down, of entering stillness and embodying his true worth, even though he's not perfect and no one truly is. Why do some people not change? Because change feels too painful. If both do this work, the highest possibility of working through it. If only one does it, which can often be the case, then ultimately it comes to show. If a man stops performing and she still feels nothing is ever good enough, then it might not work. If she no longer looks at him through the lens of the father she never had, but sees the man, but he keeps staying in a perpetual cycle of pleasing and performing and never slowing down and never truly facing his pain, then he might not align. But the only way it can ever align is if you starve this dynamic. And the way you starve it is by taking responsibility for your part in it. That's the only way alignment, truth, and true intimacy can ever be born. The truth is, you do not have to struggle with this dynamic, but you have to make a choice that you are no longer going to fulfill that unconscious script that you've been playing out again and again. And this is a choice you will have to make again and again and again. And when you make this your highest priority and you stop in the moment when the script wants to play out and the old wound is recreated, you actually rewrite everything in your life. You actually create the possibility and opportunity to experience the love and intimacy and life that you truly desire. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. It is a true honor to have you here. If you have enjoyed this episode and you feel that these episodes are giving you deep value, if you can rate this show 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or give it a thumbs up on YouTube, these are small ways how you can support us, for us to continue to support you at the deepest and most powerful level. Now, if you want to leave a short review, this goes even further, or a comment about the impact of this show, sharing with other people on social media or with one person who you think can benefit from this. These are all small ways how you can support us for us to support you. And just in case, if you haven't subscribed to the show yet, I invite you to do so wherever you are watching or listening to this, because then you'll be notified when a new episode drops bi-weekly every Friday. Once again, thank you so much for being here. It is an honor to be of service.